Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to explore the moment everything almost fell apart when Tuna felt she wasn't good enough for Henry, and Alex walked in to find her drowning in silence, then made one decision that changed their lives. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. The city apartment was quiet in a way that felt wrong. A single yellow lamp threw long shadows over the living room, and Tuna sat on the floor with Henry in her arms, rocking him in short, desperate motions. His crying came in hard, relentless waves, and each time he screamed, it felt like it was cutting deeper into her chest. She tried to hum, she tried to bounce him the way she'd learned to do at 3 a.m, but her voice kept cracking, and her hands felt clumsy. Sweat gathered at her hairline. Her eyes burned from too many nights without sleep. She looked down at Henry's red face, then glanced at the mirror on the wall, and for a second, she didn't recognize herself. Messy hair, hollow eyes, a shirt she'd worn for days, empty bottles on the table, laundry on the chair. "I'm not good enough," she whispered. "I don't deserve you," Henry cried louder, stiff and angry, as if he could hear the thought. Tuna tried to stand and walk him around, but her legs shook. She sank back down, clutching him close, pressing her cheek to his hair. Tears slid down and disappeared into his soft curls. Outside, the city kept moving, honking, footsteps in the hallway. A distant motorbike, but inside her head everything blurred into one dull roar. The only clear thing was the voice in her mind, repeating the same sentence. "You're failing." After a long time, Henry's cries softened into hiccups. He finally settled, exhausted. Tuna didn't feel relief. She felt empty. She stayed on the floor, frozen, staring at the wall like she was waiting for something inside her to snap. The darkness didn't arrive like a storm. It crept in slowly, wrapping around her, while the city lights blinked beyond the window. The front door opened. Alex stepped in with his briefcase still in hand, the usual tired smile already forming, then disappearing the moment he saw her. Tuna had moved to the sofa at some point, Henry asleep against her chest, but her face looked drained and distant, eyes fixed on nothing. The silence in the room was heavy. Alex set the briefcase down. He walked over and knelt beside her. "Tuna?" he asked softly. He touched her hand. Ice cold. Tuna didn't react right away. Her breathing was shallow. Alex's eyes moved across the room and caught details he'd been ignoring. The same clothes, the undone chores, the tiredness that wasn't just physical. He sat beside her and wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close without forcing her to speak. In that moment, everything outside this room lost its importance. Meetings, contracts, pressure, none of it could compete with what he was seeing. The woman he loved, quietly falling apart. "I'm here now," Alex said. Tuna trembled once, like she'd been holding her breath for days. Tears slid down her cheeks, silent and steady. Alex tightened his grip, firm enough to say he wasn't going anywhere. The next morning, pale sunlight slipped through the curtains. Henry slept peacefully in his crib. Tuna sat at the kitchen table, shoulders slumped, staring past the mug in front of her. Alex sat across from her, his coffee untouched and cold. He didn't pretend everything was fine. "I'm putting everything at the company on hold," he said. "We're going to the countryside for a few weeks, just the 3 of us." Tuna lifted her head slowly. Doubt and exhaustion sat in her eyes. "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't want to burden you." Alex reached across the table and took her hand, lacing his fingers through hers. "This isn't a burden," he said. "This is what I need to do. You and Henry are everything to me." Tuna looked down at their hands. Tears dropped onto the table. Part of her wanted to refuse, because saying yes meant admitting she couldn't do it alone. But Alex's gaze didn't move. He wasn't asking her to be strong. He was offering to carry the weight with her. He stood and began packing right away, clothes, diapers, bottles, moving with quiet determination. Tuna watched him, guilt tangled with gratitude. Then she walked to the crib and stared at Henry's sleeping face. His tiny fist was curled near his cheek, and he looked peaceful in a way she hadn't felt in weeks. "Okay," she said, so softly it sounded like a prayer. Alex turned and smiled, the first real smile she'd seen on him in days. Relief, not performance. By late morning, they were in the car. The city followed them for a while. Traffic, noise, heavy air, but slowly the buildings thinned and the road opened up. Fields stretched out on both sides, bright green rice moving in waves under the wind. The sky looked wider. The air smelled like grass and damp earth. Tuna sat in the back with Henry, holding him close. The window was cracked, and clean air slipped in. It didn't erase her pain, but it made breathing feel possible again. Alex drove slower than usual. Every few minutes he glanced in the rearview mirror, checking her face, checking Henry, checking that they were okay. He didn't ask for explanations. He didn't push conversation. He just stayed present, hands steady on the wheel. Inside the car, the engine hummed. Henry's breathing was even. The wind moved through the window. For the first time in a long time, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. Tuna let out a long sigh. She didn't realize she'd been holding back. Alex heard it. His grip tightened slightly, then relaxed. He didn't turn around. He just kept driving. As the sun lowered, the fields turned gold at the edges. Tuna looked up and caught Alex's eyes in the mirror for a second. No words, just a look that said, "We're still here. We're still trying." They arrived after dark at a small wooden house in the village. Simple, clean, quiet. Crickets sang outside. The air was cooler. Even the silence felt softer than the city's. Alex carried the bags inside and set up Henry's crib near the bed. Tuna stood at the doorway for a moment, taking in the plain wooden walls and the night air slipping through a cracked window. Her chest still felt tight, but the room didn't feel like it was closing in. It felt like it was letting her breathe. Alex stepped behind her and rested a hand lightly on her shoulder. "We're here," he said, as if naming it could make it true. Tuna nodded, holding Henry close. She didn't have a speech. She didn't have a plan. But for the first time in days, she believed there might be a way forward, one quiet day at a time. That first night, Tuna lay awake longer than she expected. The village sounds were new crickets, a soft wind in the trees, distant footsteps on a dirt road, and her mind kept waiting for the city to come rushing back. Henry slept for a while, then stirred and began to fuss, the smallest whimpers building toward a cry. Tuna started to sit up on instinct, but Alex was already moving, switching on the dim lamp and lifting Henry with careful hands. "I've got him," he whispered. Tuna watched from the bed, stunned by how gentle he was. The porch boards creaked under Alex's feet as he stepped outside with Henry. The night air was cool and smelled like wet soil. He held the baby close, rocking slowly, whispering whatever words came into his mind, soft, clumsy lullabies that didn't sound perfect, but sounded real. Henry cried for a minute longer, then the cries started to break, turning into tired little sobs. Tuna lay in the dark bedroom, staring at the ceiling, listening. She could hear Alex's voice drifting back through the open door, low and steady. And instead of feeling relief, guilt hit her first, sharp and immediate. "That should be me. I should be able to do that. Why can't I?" Tears slipped down the sides of her face and soaked into the pillow. She didn't make a sound. She didn't want Alex to hear, because she was already ashamed of how heavy her own body felt, how hard it was just to sit up, how exhausted she was, down to her bones. Outside, Henry's cries softened again. Alex kept rocking. The crickets didn't stop. The village didn't rush. Everything moved slowly, like it was giving her permission to move slowly too. After a while, the porch went quiet. Alex came back in, carrying Henry with the kind of careful gentleness you only see when someone is trying very hard not to break something precious. He laid Henry back in the crib, tucked the blanket around him, and stood there for a second with his hand resting on the baby's chest, watching him settle. Then Alex turned toward the bed. Tuna was still crying, shoulders shaking in small waves. Alex didn't ask her to explain. He sat on the edge of the mattress and wiped her tears with his thumb, slow and steady, like he was cleaning away something he hated seeing on her face. "I can do it," he whispered. "Let me." Tuna grabbed his hand, gripping it like it was the only solid thing left in the room. Her fingers were cold, Alex's were warm. She didn't know what to say, so she just held on, breathing unevenly until her heartbeat slowed enough to match his. The countryside night wrapped around them. No traffic, no horns, no pressure. Just the sound of Henry breathing, Alex's quiet presence, and the first thin line of light pushing against the heavy darkness inside her. The next days didn't change everything at once. Nothing dramatic happened. It was small, steady, almost boring in the best way. Alex woke up early, before the sun fully rose. He warmed milk, changed diapers, and carried Henry outside so the baby could feel fresh air on his cheeks. He walked around the yard with Henry tucked against his chest, talking to him in a soft voice like they were old friends. Sometimes he sang nonsense songs that made no sense at all, but Henry would stare up at him like it was the greatest concert on earth. Tuna slept longer than she had in weeks. When she woke up, the fog in her head was still there, but it wasn't as thick. She could sit up without feeling like she'd collapse. She could drink water without her hands shaking. She could look at the day without immediately thinking, "I can't do this." Alex never made a big deal about it. He didn't stand over her and tell her to be positive. He didn't lecture her into feeling better. He just made the room feel safe. If she wanted to talk, he listened. If she stared into space, he didn't take it personally. If she cried, he didn't act scared of her tears. One afternoon, Tuna finally stepped outside into the garden. There were wildflowers near the fence and tall grass moving in the breeze. She walked slowly, like she didn't trust her legs to hold her. Her fingertips brushed petals without thinking, just feeling something soft and alive. The air smelled clean, earthy, honest. She stood there for a long time, not doing anything productive, not being useful, just existing. And that alone felt like progress. From the doorway, she heard Henry's laughter. It was bright and unfiltered, the kind of laugh that makes you forget your own thoughts for a second. Tuna turned and saw Alex on the grass, lying on his back with Henry on his chest. The baby was giggling like crazy while Alex made ridiculous faces, puffing his cheeks and crossing his eyes. And for the first time in weeks, Tuna smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It was small and shaky, like her face had forgotten how. But it was real. Alex glanced up, caught it, and froze for half a second like he didn't want to scare the moment away. He didn't comment. He didn't say, "See, you're better." He just smiled back, quiet and grateful, and kept playing with Henry like nothing special had happened. Tuna walked over and sat beside them. The grass felt cool under her legs. She leaned her head on Alex's shoulder. He shifted slightly so she was comfortable, and his arm wrapped around her without squeezing too tight. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. A soft breeze moved through the trees above them. Henry kicked his legs and squealed. Alex's breathing stayed steady and calm beside her. Tuna could feel hope, not like a loud promise, but like a small plant pushing through dry soil, slow, stubborn, alive. The darkness didn't vanish. It was still there, somewhere behind her ribs, but it wasn't swallowing her anymore. Its grip was loosening, day by day, under the steady weight of love and time. A week later, near sunset, Alex suggested they walk up the small hill behind the house. It wasn't steep, but it was enough to make Tuna feel the effort in her legs. Alex didn't rush her. He carried Henry, and Tuna held his free hand. When they reached the top, they sat in the grass. The sun was low, painting the sky a fierce orange that slowly softened into purple. Henry stared at the light like it was magic. The wind cooled their faces. Leaves rustled quietly behind them. Tuna leaned into Alex's shoulder again, and this time her body didn't feel as heavy. Her chest still held old fear, but it wasn't screaming, She whispered, "Thank you." Alex squeezed her hand once and leaned down to kiss her hair. He didn't say much, because he didn't need a speech. He just stayed close. That was the whole point. Henry cooed softly, as if he was adding his own little voice to the moment. Tuna looked at her son's face in the warm light. Then she looked at Alex. Tears rolled down her cheeks again, but these were different. They didn't burn. They didn't feel like failure. They felt like release. As the sun disappeared, the first stars appeared above them. The sky turned deep and wide. The three of them sat there in silence, wrapped in the cool night air, more connected than they had ever been. The darkness had retreated, not completely, but enough. And in that quiet, Tuna realized something important. She wasn't being saved like a helpless person. She was being loved like a human being, held steady until she could stand again. Tuna is overwhelmed in their city apartment, exhausted as Henry cries non-stop. Looking in the mirror, she whispers she isn't good enough and sinks into self-blame. When Alex comes home, he sees her breaking, holds her close, and promises he's here. The next morning, he pauses work and drives Tuna and Henry to the countryside, away from the noise, so she can recover. In a small village house, Alex takes the sleepless nights warming milk, rocking Henry on the porch, humming clumsy lullabies while Tuna finally rests. Day by day, she steps into the garden, breathes clean air, and feels the fog thinning. She watches Alex play with Henry on the grass and finds a fragile, real smile returning. At sunset on a quiet hill, they sit hand in hand, and Tuna's tears turn into rely.